Mankato has a style all its own. It's that orangish stone you see everywhere. Sometimes it makes up the entire building, sometimes just the foundation, sometimes as a trim, but everywhere. It's everywhere because we can get it so close in nearby Kasota, where the name comes from. Vetter Stone, the company now synonymous with Kasota Stone, has operated the quarry since the 50s. Work there began a century earlier, and minus a few high-profile exceptions like the post office and courthouse, Kasota Stone was more about function than fashion.
The material was really used to start out with as bridge abutments for railroad arch bridges, and was just not an aesthetic thing at all. It was just used because they didn't have concrete. Then when concrete was developed, all the quarries basically shut down because their use was no longer there. Concrete was so much easier and cheaper to work with. But then after the Depression, after things kind of straightened out, some people started looking at this and thinking they could use it more aesthetically. So then the quarries came back more as an aesthetic and a skin on a building rather than the foundation and the structure for the bridges or those buildings.
Kasota Stone is known to geologists as dolostone. Its mineral component, dolomite, is similar to other limestones, differing in that it has more magnesium, enough to set it apart from the rest of the rock.
Just a very unique color that we have. We have 21 ledges that we quarry in this area. Each one's a little different color, but you can't find that color anywhere else in the world.
That could very well just be a cohesive marketing pitch by a proud owner, but it's also the opinion of a geologist.
I think unique is a good way to describe it. I mean, dolomite and limestone exist throughout the United States and are quarried in many different areas, but this particular rock type, and what we know as the Kasota stone, has a particular look to it that no other places have. There isn't a lot of variability to it. It's pretty consistent. The only other things you'll see besides sort of this tan, crystalline, sugary texture is occasionally vugs and sort of bedding planes that actually kind of make nice features on a stone wall. And also there's a lot of burrows into the rock, so you'll see these tubular features that represent animals that used to live on the seafloor.
And 480 million years ago, we were in fact on the ocean floor. It was an unrecognizable world.
Continents were flooded, sea level was much higher, and ancient seas existed over the area, and continents were also shifted a bit, and we were located more closer to the equator.
There is another step left, something that makes Kasota stone the building material of choice for our region. Several layers of sediment had formed on top of the Kasota stone in the hundreds of millions of years since. The rest of the region has it too, but we're actually able to reach it. For that, you can thank the end of the Ice Age.
An ancient glacial river called Glacial River Warren moved through the area where large volumes of water moved through that area and carved out a lot of the sediment in there, and then actually made it, so the rock is accessible near the land surface.
After the glaciers were gone, that giant ancient river would shrink down to the Minnesota River's current size, and that's how we lucked into Kasota stone. Of course, there's still work to be done. You gotta cut it out of the ground, carve it up into workable chunks, then shape it to the customer's specifications. And then there's the modern advancements, machinery that can be programmed to cut rock throughout the weekend without an employee on the floor. Far from the incredibly labor-intensive undertaking it used to be.
My grandpa really had the basic stoneworking knowledge and was a stone carver. He carved the carving that's on the telephone company that's still up there of the telephone lineman. That was his last carving that he did. So really a good stone worker and had a lot of history. So he taught his boys how to do the same thing and started out very slow. They would just, if they could do a hearth or a mantle in a week, they were doing a lot.
Mankato's style has caught on. Minnesota stone, as Vetter Stone markets it, has been used at Harvard, the Smithsonian American Indian Museum in D.C., even the U.S. Embassy in Moscow.
I think there's a lot of pride in the area of having this material end up in so many places in the country and throughout the world. And it's just really gratifying to be part of a family that's, going into the 63rd year and be the third generation coming in and trying to make that work and making sure that we stay up with the times and that we can succeed into the future and still carry that through as a legacy for the community and our family.
Figuratively and literally, that legacy is already set in stone. In Mankato, Ryan Gustafson, KEYC News 12.